Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Working Actors Journey Rehearsal Room. I'm Nathan Agan, and we continue our exploration of Act 2, Scene 2 of Hamlet. We will continue looking at this section of the play with Polonius, Gertrude, and Claudius that we looked at last week. And again, if you're just tuning in, you're just finding this, there is another session on this part of the scene, as well as many, many sessions, many weeks of all the play leading up to this point in the show. So if you're watching this and either on YouTube or the podcast, please subscribe, like, click notifications, let others know, leave a review or rating if you feel so inclined. We appreciate all of that. There are links below in the description for you to support the project and find out more about what we're doing. And with that, I hope it's a great session today. I will turn it over to Annie and have a great time.
Great. Thank you, Nathan.
Good, Nathan.
Okay, so what I'd like to do, and I think everybody got my email, and I hope you all understood that one of the things now, as wonderful as it is to have 30 people, it starts to make casting a little more difficult, and even the section where we discuss the play. So I think that Randy and I talked about a way of just somehow managing the time. And I think what we'll do is to do the scene, and then those people who are in it, I'll either work with you a little bit, or we can discuss what is happening in that scene, and then we'll do it again and continue the process and then end it. The only thing that I do want to do between this first reading of the scene and the second is I think it's important to look at Polonius's first scene with Ophelia, because there's great discrepancy between what he says to her in that scene and what he tells the king. Now, I don't want everybody to jump to the conclusion that that makes him an awful human being because he's lying. He's up against it, because put yourself in his shoes. Are you going to come in and say, I was afraid that Hamlet was going to misuse her sexually, and therefore I told her not to fall in love? So it's not, again, I think it's a wiser way, actually, to tell the king what happened. It's not the truth, I grant you, but I don't know that the truth would have helped him in this circumstance. But I think we need to look back at that scene to see exactly what the difference of that opinion is, and the difference in what he discovers, and also the way he presents it to the king. Okay, so we'll put that in there. And before, does anybody have any questions about any of that? If not, then I think we should just read it first and go from there. All right. So Michele, I'm going to ask you to do Polonius. And Randy is going to do Gertrude, and Nick will do Claudius for this first one. And it helps if everybody is not on screen.
This business is very well ended, my liege and madam. To expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, why day is day, night night, and time is time, were nothing but to waste night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad. Mad call I it, for to define true madness, what is't but to be nothing else but mad? Let that go.
More matter, and with less art.
Madam, I swear I use no art at all. That he is mad, 'tis true. 'Tis true, 'tis pity, and pity is 'tis true. A foolish figure, but farewell to it, for I will use no art. Mad, let us grant him then, and now remains that we find out the cause of this effect, or rather say the cause of this defect, for this effective for this effect defective comes by cause, thus it remains, and the remainder thus. Prepend, I have a daughter, have while she is mine, who in her duty and obedience, mark, hath given me this. Now, gather and surmise. To the celestial and my soul's idol, the most beautified Ophelia. Oh, that's an ill phrase, a vile phrase. Beautified is a vile phrase. But you shall hear these in her excellent white bosom, these.
Came this from Hamlet to her?
Good madam, stay a while, I will be faithful. Doubt thou the stars are fire, doubt that the sun doth move, doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt I love. Oh, dear Ophelia, I am ill at these numbers. I have not art to reckon my groans, but that I love thee best. Oh, most best believe it. Adieu. Thine evermore, most dear lady, while this machine is to him, Hamlet. This in obedience hath my daughter showed me, and more above hath his soliciting, as they fell out by time, by means, and place, all given to mine ear.
But how hath he received his love?
What do you think of me?
As of a man faithful and honorable.
I would fain prove so. But what might you think, when I had seen this hot love on the wing as I perceived it? I must tell you that before my daughter told me what might you or my dear majesty your queen here think, if I had played the desk or table book, or given my heart a winking, mute and dumb, or looked upon this love with idle sight, what might you think? No, I went round to work, and, my young mistress, thus I did bespeak. Lord Hamlet is a prince out of thy star. This must not be. And then I precepts gave her, that she should lock herself from his resort, admit no messengers, receive no tokens, which done, she took the fruits of my advice, and he repulsed. A short tale to make, fell into a sadness, then into a fast, thence to a watch, thence to a weakness, thence to a lightness, and by this declension into the madness whereon now he raves, and all we wail for.
Do you think 'tis this?
It may be, very likely.
Hath there been such a time, I'd fain know that I have possibly said 'tis so. Let me try that again. Has there been such a time, I'd fain know that I have positively said 'tis so, when it proved otherwise?
Not that I know.
Take this from this, if this be otherwise. If circumstances lead me, I will find where truth is hid, though it were hid indeed within the center.
How may we try it further?
You know sometimes he walks for hours together here in the lobby.
Ah, so he has indeed.
At such a time, I'll loose my daughter to him. Be you and I behind an arras then. Mark the encounter. If he love her not, and be not from his reason fall'n thereon, let me be no assistant for a state, and keep a farm and carters.
We will try it.
But look where sadly the poor wretch comes, reading.
Away, I do beseech you both away. I'll board him presently.
Good. Okay, let's just talk a little bit about some of it. Michele, I loved what you did with the first part of it. You were hesitant. You the length of it wasn't just a garrulous old man. It was somebody who knew that what he has to disclose is not, it's sensitive. It's not something that one just throws at the king and queen or the parents of Hamlet. What I would like to see, and we'll go over parts again. One of the things that it seems to me happens is that Polonius comes in knowing he has to impart this news. Gertrude interrupts. and so I think whenever there is a kind of interruption, and I think you actually planted the seed for me last week because you talked about a kind of paranoia. And I think that what I want to do is translate that into his response.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when something is said, if you believe, I mean, I think when he says, let us grant him then. No, I'm sorry. Let me go back to the very beginning of that. Your noble son is mad. Mad, do I call it for to define madness? What is it to be nothing else but mad? But let that go. She interrupts that. And what you're saying is that madness, I know that the minute you say your noble son is mad, there's a colon that follows that. I would suggest to Claudius and to Gertrude, and if we were up on our feet, I'd practice this, to have a response to it. Either they move towards him, they move away, but there's a response to he's mad. And the reason I say this is because we're going to go through this play with different words to describe the dilemma that Hamlet is in. Claudius tells us that he's different from the inside and the outside. Gertrude has told us she doesn't think the change is anything more than his father's death or hasty marriage. Later on, other people will analyze it. So when you come to when that colon is there and they react perhaps as if it's shocking that you would be so blunt to say, then you have a way to excuse that. The reason I'm saying that it's mad is this. Yeah. Okay. And then another thing I want to point out to everybody, and that is look for phrases that get repeated. More matter and less art. Madam, I use no art at all. Let's see those caps. For I will use no art. And so it's a repetition of something that she's introduced. Otherwise, it sounds like nobody's said it before. It's just so if you can look for those in these things, I think you'll see how it tightens the communication between these different characters. Now, the other thing that I want to point out, and again, as I've confessed to all of you, scansion is not something I'm expert in. But whenever you can get to the end of a line, be careful of sweeping instantly to the next line, only because I think you'll find that, let's find one of them. Madam, I swear I use no art at all. That is mad, 'tis true, 'tis pity, and pity is, 'tis true, a foolish figure, but farewell it. We need that break at the end of the lines because they will give the illusion of the first time. They will have the character seem as if the character is thinking on his or her feet, rather than it just ramming through. And again, I'm not addressing the poetry of it, anything other than this idea of these characters communicating with each other and allowing the character to think on his feet rather than to have some kind of premeditated, this is a speech I'm going to say, and this is it. I think it just helps, it helps the life of whatever you're saying. Does that make sense? I know
Yes, I'm also looking at after and pity is 'tis true. There's another colon, and I think that might also be another place where there's a thing where we a foolish figure.
Yes, right. That's an opportunity for again Gertrude to give the clue that don't even go, have some kind of response to that, and then that's what. And again, all of this, none of it's set in stone, but whenever we can include each other in the scene, so the actor doesn't have to make it up on his own. That's when we fall into the trap of, oh, Polonius is just a garrulous old man who likes to talk. It doesn't matter. Yes, he likes to talk. I like to talk too, but I wait for the cue to talk. So I think that's a wonderful way to look at colons. They are either a leap to the next thought or a physical move in some way. I think that's great to start looking at it that way. The other thing, and let me see if this makes sense. When he says, "Mad, let us grant him," now remains that we find, you see the long spelling? We find out the cause of this effect, and then let it occur to you, because this is going to be, anything that follows a comma is an afterthought. It's an addition. This effect, or rather say, the defect of this. So he's really thinking of it as he goes, not making excuses using a flowery terminology. I think he actually has to himself come to these conclusions. Pity 'tis true, and true 'tis pity. It's his own reckoning with it, rather than any kind of fearfulness of, am I being, is it going to be looked at as art? The thing I'm finding out more and more about Polonius is, even though his method is by indirections to follow directions out, he thinks that he's being so direct that he's absolutely specific to I have a daughter, have while she is mine. He almost becomes so literal with everything, that's what makes him seem that it's artificial somehow. For him, it's not. And I think that's the trick with playing him. That's a kind of slippery slope. But I think for me, again, this is that folio, when you start to look at commas, and I know we haven't spent a lot of time on it, but the comma is in addition. So everything you say before a comma is all that you expect to say. That we find out the cause of this effect, or rather say the cause of this defect. And then the next line. Do you know what I mean? Rather than, I've thought of the whole thought as one phrase. And I think you'll start to make some interesting discoveries of what he's doing there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. The other thing that I want to add to this is to start paying attention to that, that it's a vile phrase, beautifies a vile phrase. That phrase is, from Polonius's perspective, he's suggesting that Ophelia paints herself when she meets Hamlet, that she puts on makeup, that she makes herself, quote, beautified. That's an insult to her. That's not about his writing. That's about, this is terrible because anything that casts aspersions on Ophelia, he will be very sensitive to. I think it's why you see duty with a capital D and obedience with a capital. She did this and she gave me that. She did everything that was right. Do you know what I mean? So that as you're presenting this to Claudius and Gertrude, that no aspersions are cast on you or her. That no matter what conclusion they come to about this, that she did the appropriate behavior to the given circumstances. And you even did better than that when you get to what would you think. You didn't just sit back and ignore it. You took action. So much of it with Polonius is about protecting your reputation, her reputation, as well as sharing Hamlet's madness with them. Can we look at it again?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one other thing. I'm still, and I know we discussed it a little bit last week, but you shall hear these in her excellent white bosom these. I'm kind of
and every scholar that's ever written on it. There are some people who believe it's part of that it's still part of a letter that he's reading. I'm not sure why her would be used. I mean, it's sort of hard to see it as letter writing, but I think that I think that if he's referring to the purity, that these letters were found in the purity of this girl's heart, her white
Yeah.
bosom, her
Yeah.
everything with Polonius has a double meaning.
Uh-huh.
So I think for me, I would say in delivering it, I would use it as his description of how these letters were received, rather than a part of the letter that that he's reading. Did you
Yeah.
have any feeling?
And also I think it's a prelude to him saying, I was just going on a side thing. Now I'm getting down to the letter and it's like, and he's interrupted.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right. And I'm glad you brought up the interruption. Look, I think this to me, I'm fascinated by it because Gertrude answers it before we even get there. Came this from Hamlet from her to her, and it's a no question. She knows that she believes. Came this from Hamlet to her, and his response is stay a while because he wants to look at the way that Hamlet sits on the page. It's the button to the end of where he's leading. But Gertrude outguessed it all right. So you don't say yes, he did send it to you. You say, Madam, be patient. This is your opportunity to show the proof, the wonderful proof in this love letter, and what you did. And I think I would suggest that people start to look at Polonius for every opportunity that he gets to act, to take that opportunity. Because I think that we saw what happened, the possibility of what happened with Rinaldo when he started to take on the different gentlemen, and Rinaldo says, "Oh, you're pretty good," and then he does here with the letter. Doubt that. I think that's why your caps are in there. I think that's the way it's punctuated. By the way, when you're reading a letter, the punctuation is not the way the character punctuated the letter. It's how Shakespeare, it's the rhetorical use of the punctuation and the actors, it helps the actors' delivery. It's more about the delivery of the letter than it is the grammar that Hamlet used to put the letter together. Okay? Uh,
Annie,
yes.
I'm fascinated by your idea that beautified, that he's suggesting that she paints herself before, gets made up before she sees him, because it pays off in the nunnery scene with what Hamlet says to her. Just a thought.
Right. That's exactly right, Liz. And I think for me, these in her excellent white bosom can also pay off because if Ophelia takes these letters to return to Hamlet out of her bosom, we start to see that Polonius has set up a situation where she seduces him. But again, that doesn't mean that he's using her for bait, he's misusing her. What it means is they want to get to why he's mad. And they believe that she's the cause, her rejection was the cause of it. So now they're going to he's going to set up a situation where she doesn't reject him, where she woos him, where she seduces him. And then what the expectation is, if he's sane, he'll rush to her and take her in his arms. If he's crazy, he won't touch her. And so I think that why Claudius comes to the conclusion that he comes to, and we won't spend, you and I, Liz, will go off and talk about the nunnery scene, but that Claudius comes to one conclusion about it, and Polonius comes to another. But yes, that's what I love about that beautified line, because I think he uses it. He uses that letter to bring as proof for the king and queen, but then in the nunnery scene to make it come to life. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at it one more time.
Read it.
Oh, here's one other thing. If you would, Michele, because he's going to say it 3 or 4 times, what would you think? Can you take greater insult at that? So defend yourself even more. I mean, unacceptable that you've been the perfect Lord Chamberlain. You helped Claudius to the throne, and you are misreading his question. His question is, how has she received his love? All he wants to know is what did she do? And you're taking that as right. Okay, so let's give it a try.
I'm just trying. Okay, here and that. This business is very well ended. My liege and madam, to expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, why day is day, night, night, and time is time. We're nothing but to waste night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad. Mad call I it, for to define true madness, what is't but to be nothing else but mad? But let that go.
Oh, more matter with less art.
Madam, I swear I use no art at all. That he is mad, 'tis true. 'Tis true, 'tis pity, and pity is, 'tis true. A foolish figure. But farewell to it, for I will use no art. Mad let us grant him then. And now remains that we find out the cause of this effect, or rather say the cause of this defect. For this effect effective comes by cause. Thus it remains, and the remainder thus. Perpend. I have a daughter, have whilst she is mine, who in her duty and obedience, mark, hath given me this. Now, gather and surmise. To the celestial and my soul's idol, the most beautified Ophelia. That's an ill phrase. Vile phrase. Beautified is a vile phrase. But you shall hear these in her excellent wife's bosom, these.
Came this from Hamlet to her?
Good madam, stay a while. I will be faithful. Doubt thou, the stars are fire. Doubt that the sun doth move. Doubt truth to be a liar. But never doubt I love. Oh, dear Ophelia, I am ill at these numbers. I have not art to reckon my groans, but that I love thee best. Oh, most best believe it. Adieu. Thine evermore, most dear lady, whilst this machine is to him. Hamlet. Thus, this in obedience hath my daughter showed me, and more above hath his soliciting, as they fell out by time, by means and place, all given to mine ear.
But how hath she received his love?
What do you think of me?
As of a man faithful and honorable.
I would fain prove so. But what might you think? When I had seen this hot love on the wing, as I perceived it, I must tell you that before my daughter told me what might you or my dear majesty, your queen here, think, if I had played the desk or table book, or given my heart a winking mute and dumb, or looked upon this love with idle sight, what might you think? No, I went round to work, and my young mistress thus I did bespeak, Lord Hamlet is a prince out of thy star. This must not be. And then I precepts gave her, that she should lock herself from his resort, admit no messengers, receive no tokens, which done, she took the fruits of my advice, and he repulsed. A short tale to make, fell into a sadness, then into a fast, thence to a watch, thence to a weakness, thence to a lightness, and by this declension into the madness whereon now he raves, all the while and all we wail for.
Do you think 'tis this?
Oh, it may be, very likely.
Hath there been such a time, I'd fain know that I have positively said 'tis so, when it proved otherwise?
Not that I know.
Take this from this, if this be otherwise. If circumstances lead me, I will find where truth is hid, though it were hid indeed within the center.
How may we try it further?
You know, sometimes he walks for hours together here in the lobby.
Oh, so he has indeed.
At such a time, I'll loose my daughter to him. Be you and I behind the arras then. Mark the encounter. If he love her not, and be not from his reason fall'n thereon, let me be no assistant for estate, and keep a farm and carters.
We will try it.
Ah, but look, where sadly the poor wretch comes reading.
Away, I do beseech you, both away. I'll board him presently.
Good. Good, Michele. Thank you. Yeah, I think we're getting an idea of how it works. And then you start to see the humor of Polonius is not to be a clown. It's to be himself.
Built in.
What?
It's built in, the humor.
Yeah. And I would even say, and let's just do one other thing, Michele, no, everybody can stay on. You know that falling into he repulsed?
Yeah.
Take that last description and do it as if you found gold.
That's it. Okay, I get it.
Okay. You want to try it?
Okay. The whole thing?
Just that and
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. A short tale to make. Fell into a sadness, then into a fast.
Wait, hold on. More intrigue to it. This,
Okay.
and then this, and then so that they're totally convinced of the transformation.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
A short tale to make. Fell into a sadness, then into a fast, thence to a watch, thence into a weakness, thence to a lightness, and by this declension into the madness whereon he now raves, and all we wail for.
Good, because here's the thing. That's the button on it. That's the button, and that's the part when Claudia's listening, do you think it's so? And she says, it might be. So the acting is convincing, you know what I mean? And again, he's fine. I think that everything that he looks at in life is a wonderful mystery to solve. I'll get to the bottom of anything, any problem you put in front of me. And so I also want to say, just in terms of rhythm of a scene, when it's the end of a scene, to make sure that, or an end of, a series of speeches, to make sure that it culminates in something. Because if it just hangs in a sort of a madness, is this and a this and a this, and then, but I think it's got to be the convincing, the final convincing argument. Then Gertrude, then Claudius and Gertrude have just changed. You've changed Gertrude's mind to at least consider it, you know? So anything from you guys? Randy and it seems like they, again, when we're reading it, it seems like, oh, they have so few lines. But I think if we were up on our feet, their reaction to it becomes not only important, it stimulates Polonius's how he proceeds with the whole scene.
They had no, Gertrude and Claudius had no idea that Hamlet was seeing Ophelia.
That's right.
They had no idea that it may be love. It may be that his change has come, as Polonius says it has, from that. But it's news to them.
Yes.
First time they've heard this.
And I think that what we're going to find is, we go back to that ghost, None of these people knew that that's what took place.
Oh, yes, right.
And so all
that's
they
true.
know is what they have seen of the old Hamlet, his attitude towards Claudius, all of that we've seen in that first act, in the court scene, and then what Polonius has, and again, one feels that he has had spies watching his daughter somehow, because he says, it's put on me that you've given private time. Somebody's been watching her. But his conclusion, we're going to read that now, but his conclusion from that scene to where Hamlet's coming from, and then Ophelia changing his mind, and he now feels that Hamlet's mad for her love. That's his association with Hamlet's madness. And that is going to be all the way through the play within the play and Gertrude's cause. He will never waver from that. That's what he thinks the cause is, and he will die. Take this from this, he will die proving it. So now we have the bead for Polonius. So as he progresses, and we get to this next scene that we're talking about, it has to carry through what he's promised Claudius. So now there's an examination of the madman when he will see Hamlet. And the same thing with the setting up of the way Ophelia, I was going to say Cordelia, wrong play, that Ophelia is presented to Hamlet in the nunnery scene. And we'll get to that. There's a lot of detail in that later. Do we get to it next year or something? Right. Something like that. At any rate, thank you. I think we've got that beginning now of what's happening. And I like the fact that that's what we're exploring. Now, what's interesting and why we want to hear other people is, even though that's the action of it, everybody's Polonius will be different.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think I may have mentioned this last. This is something that I learned from Stella Adler. Actions are universal. Feelings are not. And that's why Stanislavski, Stella Adler, Morris Karnofsky, those teachers depended so much on finding out what the action of the piece is. And so that's the search. You need circumstances to figure that out. But once you get into feelings, look, you feel love different than I feel love, or you express love differently than I express. So feelings are not going to give us any kind of definite movement of the play. That's the actor's territory, and the actor, if he's worth his salt, will feel truthfully in the moment. But whoever that actor is, this is why you have as many Hamlets as you have actors. This is why everybody wants to do, any actor wants to, now women are in on it too. Any actor, actress wants to prove their worth, they've got to do Hamlet. Why? Because he is the absolute example of what Morris Karnofsky says is self. You and Hamlet must be one. You can't put Hamlet on as if he stands aloof from you. You must wear him as if you know him as a brother, as yourself. And that is what makes him intriguing to actors and makes the finest performances loved by audiences. Okay? What I'd like to do now is I'd like to look at that scene between Polonius and why do I keep calling her Ophelia? My God, Ophelia. And I'm going to ask Terry, would you do Ophelia? I hope she's not muted. And Jim Stubbs, is he there? Jim?
There.
Hello, how are you?
So, Annie, where do you want to start?
I want to start at that, what hath he said to thee, Ophelia? And Jim, I'm going to ask you to do Polonius in that scene. And we'll take it right to the end of I Obey.
Okay, hang on.
Can I just share something with you right now?
What?
I have something I found about Polonius. It won't just take a second.
Mm-hmm.
It says, in Polonius, the Elizabethans would have immediately recognized William Cecil, Lord Burleigh, one of Queen Elizabeth's principal and foxiest advisors. Recently dead, he had been a man of circuitous style who, apart from his public activities, he had drafted Mary Queen of Scots' death warrant, had been well known for promoting his daughter's interest at court and for having written a list of moral precepts for his son and then spied on him in Paris.
Yes, and let me just address that for 1 minute,
That's
and then we won't hang on it, because there's been a lot of research about that. But what he has written to his son is nothing, it doesn't reflect what Polonius says to Laertes. It's based on the idea of him doing that and Polonius doing it. The other thing I would put out caution is whoever wrote it doesn't know every Elizabethan. There's a tendency to say, here's how Elizabethans would respond. Look, when we're dead and buried and 100 years goes by, everybody in America was a Trump supporter. Everybody in America was loved AI. You want to be in that group? So I would extend to the Elizabethans the same courtesy that I would extend to us and say there may have been some people, there are certain scholars who believe that, but there are other scholars who refute it. But it's coming from a scholarly perspective that I personally, I read that kind of stuff, Jim. And I was talking even to Robert about this. Listen, I go on the trail and I get lost in minutia sometimes. But all I would say is that I'm not sure how it helps play Polonius. Hamlet is not a history. Hamlet is a tragedy that Shakespeare wrote. There was no Hamlet. It was based on a chronicle called from Saxo Grammaticus. The character's name was Amleth. It was based on that. It is filled with other traditional uses from the Spanish tragedy, from other revenge tragedies. But that's what he's writing. He is not writing a history. So I think when you make too many connections to the history of it, and I think if it whets your imagination, great, but I think that's what it has to do.
Yeah, this is.
It's not a history. Go ahead. And then we have to move on because I have other groups that I need
Yeah,
to.
well, this is a book by Michael Pennington called Hamlet, a User's Guide. It was published in '96. I was curious about your reaction.
Yeah, and that's all you have to
know
do
what
is
it is.
turn my faucet on and I go, don't I?
What is
Annie, I don't-
which,
beware of from me.
what scene are we doing?
We're doing that very first scene with Ophelia. Ophelia,
He gives her the advice, right? And you want to start with
All right, act 1, scene 3.
Yep. So you want to start with, so please you something touching the Lord Hamlet, or a little bit earlier?
what hath he said to them?
Oh, okay.
Okay, what is Ophelia? It said to you.
So please you something touching the Lord Hamlet.
Mary well bethought, has told me very oft of late given private time to you, and you yourself have of your audience been most free and bounteous. If it be so, as so 'tis put on me, and that in way of caution, I must tell you, you do not understand yourself so clearly as it behooves my daughter and your honor. What is between you? Give me up the truth.
He hath, my lord, made many tenders of his affection to me.
Affection, pooh. You speak like a green girl unsifted in such perilous circumstance. Do you believe his tenders, as you call them?
I do not know, my lord, what I should believe, what I should think.
Mary, I'll teach you. Think yourself a baby, that you obtain his tenders for true pay, which are not sterling. Tender yourself more dearly, or not to crack the wind of the poor phrase, roaming it thus, you'll tender me a fool.
My lord, he hath importuned me with love in honorable fashion.
Aye, fashion you may call it. Go to.
and hath given countenance to his speech. My lord, with all the vows of heaven.
Aye, springes to catch woodcocks. I do know when the blood burns how prodigal the soul gives the tongue vows. These blazes, daughter, giving more light than heat, extinct in both, even in their promise as it is a making, you must not take for fire. For this time, daughter, be somewhat scanter of your maiden presence. Set your entreatments at a higher rate than a command to parley. For Lord Hamlet believes so much of him that he is young, and with a larger tether may he walk than may be given you. In few, Ophelia, do not believe his vows, for they are brokers, not of the eye, which their investments show, but mere implorators of unholy suits, breathing like sanctified and pious bonds, the better to beguile. This is for all. I would not, in plain terms, from this time forth, have you so tender any moment leisure as to give words or talk with the Lord Hamlet. Look to it, I charge you. Come your ways.
I shall obey, my lord.
Okay. Ben, if you would do Polonius in this scene, Sharon, Gertrude, and Randy will do Claudius. But I do want to point out before we head into this, what Polonius has said in that scene. And if you notice, his warning to Ophelia is that Hamlet may misuse her, and that she may end up pregnant, but certainly not married to the prince. He is, it's Laertes who says he's out of you. He may love you now, you know, but he's not able to, in his position, choose for himself. Polonius's point of view is he's looking at Hamlet as being young, and therefore young men behave in a particular way, and they will do whatever they can to sexually have sexual relationships with the women and never think of the consequences for her. And because of his station, he doesn't have to worry about his. This is not said in this next scene. Also, you notice that the very final thing that he says has to do with not allowing her to see him, not accepting any letters from him, that he's put an end to this relationship and she has obeyed. All right, so we can put trust in that. So Ben, when you're doing Polonius, I don't want you to play lying. That's not my point. But my point is, as I said earlier to Michele, is to put your daughter and you in the best light possible. She did everything. There was one line that came out when Michele was doing it this last time, and I think it is, and more above his means, his time, when he's talking about Ophelia, the way Ophelia revealed this news, little phrases like that. And beyond that, he's saying, you know, so he's that extreme anytime somebody has a kind of way of expressing something in an extreme manner, it means that they are trying to put his daughter in the best possible light. Obviously, this all could have been reduced to Hamlet wooed Ophelia, and then I gave her instructions not to listen to it, and she obeyed. But that's not what he does. He's also filling it with something that keeps both he and Ophelia in a very respectable place. All right. So when we see that, take a look at that when you're doing it. But let's do it again and see where we go.
Can you just clarify where we're picking it up from? Is it the business is very well ended? Is that what we're picking up?
That's it.
Okay.
Business is very
The business is very well ended. My liege and madam, to expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, why day is day, night, night, and time, time, were nothing but to waste night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad. Mad call I it, for to define true madness, what is but to be nothing else but mad. But let that go.
More matter with less art.
Madam, I swear I use no art at all. That he is mad, 'tis true. 'Tis true, 'tis pity, and pity 'tis true. A foolish figure, but farewell it, for I will use no art. Mad let us grant him then, and now remains that we find out the cause of this effect. Or rather say the cause of this defect, for this effect defective comes by cause, thus remains, and the remainder thus. Perpend. I have a daughter, have while she is mine, who in her duty and obedience mark hath given me this. Now gather and surmise. To the celestial and my soul's idol, the most beautified Ophelia. That's an ill phrase, a vile phrase. Beautified is a vile phrase. But you shall hear more. These in her excellent white bosom, these.
Name this from Hamlet to her.
Good madam, stay a while, I will be faithful. Doubt thou, excuse me, doubt thou the stars are fire, doubt that the sun doth move, doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt I love. O dear Ophelia, I am ill at these numbers. I have not art to reckon my groans, but that I love thee best, O most best, believe it. Adieu. Thine evermore, dear lady, whilst this machine is to him, Hamlet. This in obedience hath my daughter shown me, and more above hath his soliciting, as they fell out by time and means and place, all given to mine ear.
But how hath she received his love?
What do you think of me?
As of a man, faithful and honorable.
I would fain prove so. But what might you think when I had seen this hot love on the wing, as I perceived it? I must tell you that before my daughter told me, what might you, or my dear majesty, your queen here, think, had I played the desk or table book, or given my heart a winking, mute and dumb, or looked upon this love with idle sight? What might you think? No, I went round to work, and my young mistress thus did I bespeak. Lord Hamlet is a prince, out of thy star. This must not be. And then I precepts gave her that she should lock herself from his resort, admit no messengers, receive no tokens, which done, she took the fruits of my advice, and he repulsed. A short tale to make, fell into a sadness, thence into a fast, thence into a watch, thence into a weakness, thence into a lightness, and by this declension into the madness whereon he now raves, and all we wail for.
Do you think 'tis this?
It may be very likely.
Hath there been such a time, I'd fain know that I have positively said 'tis so, when it proved otherwise?
Not that I know.
I'll take this from this, if this be otherwise. If circumstance lead me, I will find where truth is hid, though we're hid indeed within the center.
How may we try it further?
You know sometimes he walks 4 hours together here in the lobby.
So he has indeed.
At such a time I'll loose my daughter to him. Be you and I behind an arras then, mark the encounter. If he love her not, and be not from his reason fallen thereon, let me be no assistant for estate, but keep a farm and carters.
We will try it.
Oh, but look where sadly the poor wretch comes reading.
Oh, wait, I do beseech you both away. I'll board him presently.
Good. Okay. So now let's take a little different turn to this rehearsal. Different actors, right? Except that one old man who keeps appearing in
Popping in and out.
form, right? Yeah. Okay, so Ben, let me hear from the actor's point of view about Polonius. Not, let me just add, not in terms of, I think he's this or this, but what you're doing. If you can zero in on what Polonius is doing, that would help.
You know, Annie, sometimes it takes me a minute to come up with, I'm still thinking about it. I mean, it seems to me, I've always loved Polonius because I feel like there is a stream of consciousness that makes sense in the way that he talks that feels a little like somebody, I mean, you guys have already talked about this. I joined the conversation a little late, and I said I think you hit some of these things, but it feels to me like somebody who is. I've got to lose, I got to deliver, but I got to make sure that I say this exactly the way I want to, and I can't let you direct the way I want to say this too much. So I'm going to sort of even make fun of myself a little bit while I do it. And it's this sort of, and I find that interesting in the way in which he is. I do this sometimes where I want to make a point, but the point I'm trying to make is way down the line, and I need the person I'm talking to follow with me, but they're in a hurry and they don't want me to do that. And so I find that interesting just to um he takes the long way around the block to the house next door, and I find that just an interesting
Right. And that's analyzing him. What I'm
okay.
asking you
Fair.
for is what do you do? What do you want? Listen, this all boils down to me for something very simple. What do I want and what do I have to do to get it? So let's start with what's his want? He comes into this room with information about Hamlet's madness. So what does he want in bringing it to the king?
Well, I think it is I'm the problem solver. I've got the solution to all of this, but I also think you're right. This I need to make sure now that I know that what this is, that this doesn't blow back on me in any way, shape, or form. That I was not and so to me it's both of those things. I get out in front of this thing. I am the problem solver of this, but even so, I have to reveal that it actually comes a little close to my life, and I need to make sure that so by solving this. I'm proving myself valuable and also proving that I had that you can doubly trust me because I would never allow my daughter to try to, infiltrate her way into the kingdom.
It's
So
so
it
funny
seems to me
because
that
you're
there's
almost like a young Polonius.
what's that?
The way you're describing is almost like a young Polonius. It's
All
kind
right, fair enough.
of
So to me, that it seems like there's a little bit of fear turned into an opportunity, or opportunity with a little backing of I got to make sure that they understand where I am on all of this, but there's also this opportunity.
And what you're bringing up, and here's why it's important, is that everything that happens in the play has to somehow tie in to Hamlet. So yes, Polonius may want praise. Yes, he may. I mean, nothing that you're saying is wrong. But I think what we have to do when he left the last scene, let's just look at circumstances. He left the last scene. He said, we have to tell the king because it's more dangerous to keep this a secret than it is to tell the king about it. What's dangerous about keeping it a secret, do you think, that Polonius feels?
Well, Hamlet could, I mean, he could do something terrible to himself. He could
Exactly.
commit, yeah, he could hurt himself.
Yes. So one, he is concerned about a dire situation for Hamlet, then part of what will happen is that he's coming to the king to prevent any harm or self-harm or whatever it is that Hamlet's going to do. So there is a connection to we have our first connection to the next connection to Hamlet is that you have to break it to these people that he's mad. That's not an easy task. And I think with you've seen a lot of productions or done a lot of productions, and I think I'm not sure if your experience has been the same as mine, but I always find that there's madness is taken for granted. But I would like to, in looking at it, since it's the first time it really comes up. Oh, Polonius uses the word lunacy, madness. He comes to the conclusion in that prior scene, mad for thy love. She says, I do not know, but truly I do think so. I do fear it. And so this hath made him mad is another thing he says. So what he's bringing into this scene is that Hamlet is mad. But look at what I've just done. How was the madness caused? It was caused because she rejected him. She's the cause of Hamlet's madness. So what you have to do is to come into the scene with the hope to spare anything bad happening to Hamlet, but you also have to do it in such a way that your daughter is not blamed for anything that caused it to happen, or you, for that matter. And I think that's part of the description of my daughter, that capital on duty, that capital on obedience, that when he says, and moreover, as it fell at time, place, everything more, even beyond that, moreover, she did this. He's raising his daughter to a behavior that really was about as obedient as she could be. And again, the tie to Hamlet is that you don't want anything to reflect anything that she may have that would cause her to seem guilty in hurting Hamlet in any way. Even though the truth of the matter is you're even to blame. You told her to reject him. But that's not what the scene becomes about. Right. It becomes about he's mad and we need to find the cause of it. And so what does he do? He pulls out the letter. The cause of it is he loved my daughter, and my daughter gave me all of this, and my daughter did everything that was right. And I think that has to be set up to do what you said earlier, protect his reputation, to protect his daughter's all of that. But it never, the underlying action or the underlying want is to spare Hamlet any kind of harm that he might do to himself. Does that make sense to you? I mean, all I'm doing is filling in the story. You as the actor have to figure out how to act it. And it all comes down to what do I want and what do I have to do to get it? So that when you get even Gertrude, Sharon, mm-hmm. What do you want from him? What do you want from Polonius?
Well, to start, right, because I think it's one thing, right, because everybody has their own ideas about why he's upset. And he came in and he said, I got it. Okay, so I'm waiting for it. What I want is that information. Tell me to change my mind, other than we got married too fast and he's grieving his father. Tell me what else it is.
Right.
And to me, the more matter with less art. Okay, you've made this leap from melancholy and mourning to now he has a mental illness. So could you get to the point of why my son is now mentally disturbed?
Okay.
And not sugarcoat it, because you just flat out said he's mad. Prove it.
Good.
I want proof.
So again, that line often comes out as if, and you didn't, but I want to just point out the trap of it being a general line of Gertrude being annoyed with him,
right?
Generally, and if he could say anything and she would just be annoyed.
Right.
But what you're doing now is you're linking it to the information that he's put in front of you, and the minute you and Claudius say hear mad, that your interest has been piqued, and so what you want to know is back to the madness. Mm-hmm. So that's, if you can connect that, and it sounds like you have that, you can connect that to more matter and less art. Mm-hmm. We have your relationship to what he's just said.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
The same thing will happen with Claudius when he says, but how has she received his love? Polonius is leaving that out. I keep saying it to people. He's not talking about how Ophelia, all Ophelia did was to be obedient, gave you the letters, you did this and that. Never talks about how she felt about Hamlet, how she reacted to Hamlet. And so it's an innocent question. So how has she received his love? Oh my God, what do you think of me? So Polonius, and I had, now look, here's another thing that I'm probably warning you against, and I'm probably going to do. Polonius tends to have a dirty mind about about a lot of this. Whenever it comes to wooing or love or how a young man is going to behave, or here in terms of how has she received, he suggests he gets insulted by it because he's reading into something that Claudius hasn't said. He's reading them, oh my God, you're suggesting that my daughter has somehow had relation, that I would allow my daughter to even have a response to him. You know what I mean? So he takes things the wrong way, I would say. Not always, but in this moment, it seems to me he's taking something that's so simple and making it some. He says, think, what would you think? Or you, your majesty, think, oh my God, what would you think? So it has some, it really strikes a chord with him when he has to give the next excuse. Okay, I want to just do it. I want to do it again. And I want to zero in on the very first speech, Ben. And if you can, link it with what you have to tell Claudius and Gertrude is not easy.
Right.
And see what happens.
This business is very well ended, my liege and madam, to expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, why day is day, night, night, and time is time, were nothing but to waste night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad. Mad call I it, for to define true madness, what is it but to be nothing else but mad? But let that go.
More matter with less art.
Oh, madam, I swear I use no art at all.
Okay, good. I want to
That-
just take a moment with the two of you so that give me the very last line of it again, Ben.
But what is it? What is but to be nothing else but mad? But let that go.
Okay, now, as if you are going to say something beyond that. So stop him. Because if he stops himself, then you seem like somebody who's just pissed off and want to, and annoyed.
Right.
Connect them. So Ben, you need to help that by suggesting that you're going to go on, and she wants to get to the point. But again, I want you to take it off of him, Sharon. Make sense?
Yep.
Mad call I it, for to define true madness, what is't but to be nothing else but mad? But let that go.
More matter with less art.
Madam, I swear I use no art at all. That he is mad, 'tis
I'm sorry,
true.
let me stop you one more time. Take her, grab her art, more matter and less art. And now use her art in your response. Mimic her, mirror her, but take it right off of her. Right now, it's sounding like she said art, and you're introducing it for the first time.
Gotcha. What is but to be nothing else but mad? But let that go.
More matter with less art.
Madam, I swear I use no art at all. That he is mad, 'tis true. 'Tis true, 'tis pity, and pity 'tis true. A foolish figure, but farewell it, for I will use no art. Mad, let us grant him then. And now remains that we find out the cause of this effect.
Great. And what I want you to do is now we're coming into new information. And we're all agreed, because Claudius and Gertrude don't bust in and say, no, I'm not ready to admit that he's mad. You're saying, mad, let us grant him. And obviously, they're willing to at least go that far with you. Now change. Now we have to find the cause of that, as opposed to just traveling in the same, do you know what I mean? Change it. Now we're into something more important. We've established she's mad. Now we're going to, why you're even bringing it up is going to come into play.
Mad, let us grant him then. Now remains that we find out the cause of this effect, or rather say the cause of this defect, for this effect effective comes by cause. Thus it remains, and the remainder thus. Prepend. I have a daughter, have while she is mine, who in her duty and obedience mark hath given me this. Now gather and surmise.
Good. And I just want to make sure everybody's clear what's happening here is that he says perpend. That means ponder. He's bringing them into coming to a conclusion with him. So it's not just him, giving the conclusion. He says perpend. Now listen and surmise. You think, you come to the conclusion. Rather than I know the conclusion, and you see what I'm saying? It's a shade of difference, but I just want to make sure that we're clear that, again, he's bringing them into it so that it will be their opinion in the end. That because what's going to happen is when he says, Claudia says, how had she received his love? You thought it was perfectly clear. The letter is proof. Your daughter's behavior is proof. So I needed to come together. So allow perpend to be, think about it, ponder, and surmise. Bring them in.
Yes. Can I back up just a shade there?
Yes, you can.
Great. And now remains that we find out the cause of this effect, or rather say the cause of this defect. For this effect defective comes by cause, thus it remains, and the remainder thus. Perpend. I have a daughter, have while she is mine, who in her duty and obedience mark hath given me this. Now gather and surmise.
So you're calling them close to you. Gather, come. Gather and surmise.
Gather and surmise. To the celestial and my soul's idol, the most beautified Ophelia. That's an ill phrase, a vile phrase. Beautified is a vile phrase. But you shall hear. These, in her excellent white bosom, these.
Came this from Hamlet to her?
Good madam, stay a while. I will be faithful.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm sorry. Once again, Sharon, put a button on it. Don't even. I think that's why there's no question there. It comes to. She's not asking for him to say yes. She's coming to the conclusion. Came this from Hamlet to her? Boom. Rather than asking, waiting for an answer.
Even a rhetorical question.
Yes.
Like not yet. Sorry, Ben, can you give me a cue? Thank you.
Absolutely. But you shall hear, these in her excellent white bosom, these.
Came this from Hamlet to her?
Good madam, stay a while, I will be faithful. Doubt thou the stars are fire, doubt that the sun doth move, doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt I love. O dear Ophelia, I am ill at these numbers. I have not art to reckon my groans, but that I love thee best. O most best believe it. Adieu. Thine evermore dear lady, whilst this machine is to him. Hamlet. This in obedience hath my daughter shown me, and more above hath his soliciting, as they fell out by time, means, and place, all given to mine ear.
How has she received his love?
What do you think of me?
Well, as of a man, faithful and honorable.
I would fain prove so. But what might you think? Had I seen this hot love on the wing as I perceived it, I must tell you that before my daughter told me, what might you or my dear majesty, your queen here, think? Had I played the desk or table book, or given my heart a winking, mute and dumb, or looked upon this love with idle sight, what might you think? No, I went round to work, And my young mistress, thus did I bespeak. Lord Hamlet is a prince out of thy star. This must not be. And then I precepts gave her that she should lock herself up from his resort, admit no messengers, receive no tokens, which done, she took the fruits of my advice, and he repulsed. A short tale to make, fell into a sadness,
Build it,
thence
build.
into a fast, thence into a
Make it,
watch,
make
thence...
it, make it the discovery of the lifetime. This happened,
Oh, yes,
and this
right.
happened.
Okay. Which done, she took the fruits of my advice, and he repulsed. A short tale to make, fell into a sadness, thence into a fast, thence into a watch, thence into a weakness, thence into a lightness, and by this declension into the madness whereon he now raves, and we all wail for.
Good.
Do you think 'tis this?
It may be very likely.
Hath there been such a time? I would fain know that I have positively said 'tis so, when it proved otherwise?
Oh, not that I know.
Take this from this, if this be otherwise. If circumstance lead me, I will find where truth is hid, though it were hid indeed within the center.
How may we try it further?
You know, sometimes he walks 4 hours together here in the lobby.
So he has indeed.
At such a time I'll loose my daughter to him. Be you and I behind an arras, then, mark the encounter. If he love her not, and be not fallen from his reason thereupon, let me be no assistant for estate, and keep a farm and carters.
We will try it.
But look where sadly the poor wretch comes reading.
Away, I do beseech you both away. I'll board him presently.
Good. And so I hope you start, the more we work on it, I think the clearer it becomes that there's a section where he's protecting his daughter's innocence by obedience, her do this, she did this, she did this. Then when Claudia says, how has she received his love? It's about you. It's no longer about her. What would you think if I played the desk or the table? No, I went round to her. So it goes from Ophelia to now you. You see what you see what I'm saying? So I want to
Absolutely.
make sure, because one of the things that can happen is if we're not clear on what each speech is about and the difference between each speech, it becomes just a garrulous old man he's really speaking nothing and let's get on. Because look, we paid to see Hamlet. And we haven't seen him for quite a few scenes now. But that shouldn't be it. I think too, as you were doing it, I thought that even Ben, when you get to the point of take this from this, that you're staking your life on it. So so it sounded to my ear a little tepid, rather than this idea that I'm swearing by this. I believe it. And again, you can do it any way you want, but as long as what's underneath it is, I believe it more than I believe anything in my life, and somehow put that into the line. Does that make sense to you?
It does, yeah. This Polonius is fun to speak.
Mm-hmm.
He's fun to say his lines. I haven't done it much, yeah.
I think it's one of the nice things about hearing different people do it, because you hear you hear certain choices that are made that still fit into what's happening. So it's not as if anybody is the definitive Polonius, but the actor now, you want to see different actors play it to see the different facets of the character. Yeah.
Interesting. It's just an observation I'm having just now thinking about Polonius is I realize in the so many Hamlets that I've seen is very rarely have I seen a Polonius who is not a powerhouse actor in that role, somebody who is, of a certain stature, of a certain age, of a certain level of experience. Very rarely have I seen really young or unqualified, Poloniuses up there. And so it's interesting to actually speak it. I realize, oh no, this is harder to do because I've taken it for granted because I've only heard, I've just, I've the likes of all of this tends to be a very plum actor, playing this somebody who really knows what they're doing. And so it's interesting. It's like, oh yeah, that doesn't just happen. That takes a little more work than I've done for this. It's you know what I mean? It's yeah, I just realized I've not heard a lot of real amateur Poloniuses in my time, I realized.
Yeah, well, I think
noticed.
the other thing too is that uh, if anything, it's showing us the importance of the work we're doing in these sessions, which is to try to find out how play informs our choices, as opposed to a kind of, I don't know, a canopy that a character fits under, or branding that he's this or he's that, rather than saying, well, here's what he's saying, here's what he last said. How do we connect the dots? How does what happened at the end of that scene come into this scene? And then later on, how does, as Liz pointed out, how is it going to connect to the nunnery? One of the things that Randy and I both talked about the other night is, in order for any of this to work, we all have to have doubt about the ghost. Not just Hamlet. Everybody watching has got to question whether Hamlet should just rush in and revenge. If we believe it is the the ghost of Hamlet's father, and he has every right to demand revenge, then there's no play. Then it's Hamlet is a man who can't make up his mind, and it becomes about his hesitation. But if it is a ghost that, and again, our participation in it, a ghost that we all have doubts about, that swearing comes from beneath the ground. An association between heaven and hell. If I've watched it when I coach actors, the minute they say heaven, they look up. When they say hell, they look down. It's kind of something that we associate with heaven and hell. The sign of him rushing away at the cock crowing, him asking for revenge. Ghosts don't come back from God and ask for revenge. So we have to go back to that scene and make sure all of our ducks in a row there to put enough doubt in the audience so we're willing to go on this journey with Hamlet. We become Hamlet. Could you think of a playwright giving any more of a compliment to an audience than to say, we're all going to find this out together? It keeps you right there moment to moment, and all of a sudden you no longer have a long play. You have an exciting play that the audience is part of. So we always have to go back to look at what was said, what was done, and connect it to what's coming, or what the scene is I'm in now, and then what scenes are coming up. And you got to hold on to that line. Once you drop it because you've decided, I think that's one of the things that Hamlet overhearing Polonius talk about, the plot of losing his daughter. People have come to that conclusion based on Hamlet's line to Polonius in this next scene we're going to look at, is a fishmonger. But if you look at the text, Hamlet comes in after that, has many lines after that has been spoken. So you would have to manufacture him coming in. Again, this is, everybody has an opportunity to do whatever they want. I wouldn't cut your legs off at that. But our job here is to say, what's in the text? And how close can we come to understanding the play? So when I have to cut it, or when I have some artistic notion about it, I at least know the play that it's coming from. And I think that's the gift of what we're doing. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I want everybody to keep looking for those connections. And I think today we've made great progress with that. What I'd like to do, I don't have any idea what time it is. 6, okay. I'd like to read it one more time, and I'd like to get that third group in. And who I have Randy, you're going to do Polonius. I have Alex, if you would do Gertrude, and Liz, if you would do Claudius. And let's just hear it one more time. before we leave it, because we're going to leave it, probably read it next week, but we're going to move on to Hamlet and Polonius.
Wait a minute, I've got to get, where are we?
This business is very well ended.
Okay, I've got it,
Good.
but I have to. Okay, I'm ready. I've got it. Okay.
Good.
This business is very well ended.
Wait, hold it for a minute, Liz. Randy is going to do Polonius. You're going to do Claudius.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
This business is very well ended.
Oh, aren't I doing Polonius?
No, Randy is.
Who am I doing?
Claudius.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
That's okay. This business is very well ended. My liege and madam, to expostulate what majesty should be, what duty is, why day is day, night night, and time is time, were nothing but to waste night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad. Mad call I it. For to define true madness, what is't, but to be nothing else but mad. But let that go.
No matter with less art.
Oh, madam, I swear I use no art at all. That he's mad, 'tis true, 'tis true, 'tis pity, and pity it is true. Foolish figure, but farewell it, for I will use no art. Mad, let us grant him then. And now remains that we find out the cause of this effect. Or rather say the cause of this defect, for this effect, defective, comes by cause. Thus it remains, and the remainder thus. Perpend. I have a daughter, while she's mine, who in her duty and obedience, mark, hath given me this. Now gather and surmise. To the celestial and my soul's idol, the most beautified Ophelia, that's an ill phrase, a vile phrase. Beautified is a vile phrase. But you shall hear these in her excellent white bosom, these.
Came this from Hamlet to her.
Good madam, stay a while. I will be faithful. Doubt thou the stars of fire. Doubt that the sun doth move. Doubt truth to be a liar. But never doubt I love. O dear Ophelia, I'm ill at these numbers. I have not art to reckon my groans. But that I love thee best, oh, most best, believe it. Adieu. Thine evermore most dear lady, whilst this machine is to him Hamlet. This in obedience hath my daughter showed me, and more above hath his soliciting, as they fell out by time, by means and place, all given to mine ear.
But how has she received his love?
Well, what do you think of me?
As of a man faithful and honorable.
I would fain prove so. But what might you think? When I had seen this hot love on the wing, as I perceived it, I must tell you that before my daughter told me, what might you think, or my dear majesty, your queen here think, if I had played the desk or table book, or given my heart a winking, mute and dumb, or looked upon this love with idle sight? What might you think? No, I went round to work, and my young mistress, thus I did bespeak, Lord Hamlet is a prince out of thy star. This must not be. And then I precepts gave her, that she should lock herself from his resort, admit no messengers, receive no tokens, which done, she took the fruits of my advice, and he repulsed. Well, a short tale to make, fell into a sadness, then into a fast, thence to a watch, thence to a weakness, thence to a lightness, and by this declension into the madness whereon now he raves, and all we wail for.
Do you think 'tis this?
It may be very likely.
Well, hath there been such a time, I'd fain know that I have positively said 'tis so, when it proved otherwise?
Not that I know.
Take this from this, if this be otherwise. If circumstances lead me, I will find where truth is hid, though it were hid indeed within the center.
How may we try it further?
You know, sometimes he walks 4 hours together, here in the lobby.
So he has indeed.
At such a time I'll loose my daughter to him. Be you and I behind an arras then. Mark the encounter. If he love her not, and be not from his reason fallen thereon, let me be no assistant for a state, but keep a farm and carters.
We will try it.
But look where sadly the poor wretch comes reading.
Away, I do beseech you, both away. I'll board him presently.
Good. Okay. What I'd like to do before we open it all up is ask all of those actors who worked today on it to come on screen and let me know, Terry and Sharon, Jim, anybody who was in any of that, to let me know any feedback that you have about what happened, about Polonius, any of that. I thought all of you, again, I thought everybody did a great job trying to capture all of it. But to me, that's the fun of working on these plays, is to figure out, what am I doing? What's the connection between the characters? Because again, with this play, it's so famous and there's so much that's been written about it, not only from a scholarly perspective, but from an acting perspective, a directing perspective. I'm in the middle of a book right now that traces all of the cuts in the play from Betterton all the way to Branagh, and an explanation for why some of it's cut. You know, and but I think that what I'm curious about all the time, and my curiosity is never going to be satisfied, because we can't get up on our feet. And theater is physical. It's not just the word, it's the words, how they enter the body, and the reaction, physical reaction that people have on stage. But at least at this point, I'm hoping to plant the seed that it's the connection, that you want to look at your line as having a connection with your partner, with that other character, and not just sitting, you know, by itself as a wonderful line. Or analyzing the character, that the character is one thing and one thing only. And for me, I thought we accomplished that progression. Next week, you'll know, I'll put it in my email, because I think what we've accomplished today is that the idea of madness, having Polonius having to bring that information in, the idea of him protecting his daughter, her reputation, making her look quite wonderful, and then his own reputation being protected. But it all comes from Gertrude and from Claudius. Polonius has not premeditated this. He's premeditated the letter. I think that's fair to say. He brought it with him. You know, but I think that what has to happen is he has to work on his feet with these two people whose main goal is to convince, so that he can help cure Hamlet of his madness. Okay? Anything that you guys have? No?
Yeah, me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sharon,
sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Sharon
Liz.
first, then Nick. Okay.
So it just occurred to me in listening, right, that build up into it was this, that led to this, that led to this, and then this, and then this, right? So she's connecting dots in her own head. Oh yeah, he was acting that way. Then it's this, oh shit. Right? So it occurred to me that it's not full on proof. It's just enough reasonable doubt to change her mind. But I had a thought, and this leads back to madness. Is there anything at all, and even if it's for a nanosecond, that if Polonius is deciding that Hamlet is mad, that somehow it's genetic? So for a moment, I'm just saying, so for a moment, right, Gertrude might think for a nanosecond that she herself either gave it to him or that she herself might be mad someday. It's just a thought. Or that madness as well, if it's proven that that is a threat to next in line to the throne as well.
Sharon, if it is a nanosecond, it happens near the beginning of Polonius's instruction, because once he gets on to tracing where the madness comes from, which is the love that he has for his daughter.
Right. Yeah. No, I guess I'm just wondering, has it ever flickered through anybody's mind that flickers through Gertrude's mind for a nanosecond? That's all. Not that we're leaning into it or anything. Just
thing I think I just want you to keep in mind about just the play itself is that I believe she would have some comment to help the audience know that. I think if it's an internal thing for Gertrude, it's everything we do is to tell the story to the audience. And I think sometimes we do. I think I've told you the story about an actress I knew. She was in a production. I went to see her, and she started to hold her chest on stage and hold on to furniture, and none of the dialogue supported it. And I went backstage after. I said, "Oh my God, were you okay?" And she said, "Oh, the director and I decided that I was dying from cancer and that I should show signs of that through." And I said, "But you never say that. There's no line about that." And she said, "No, we just felt for the character." And I thought, you can't do that. Our whole point is to tell a story to the audience. Audiences can't read minds. So I would just be I would just be wary of spending much time on that as an actor if there's nothing in the text that has a line that she said that you can somehow tie into that. That would just be my feedback. And
it's just something that floated through my mind. That's
yeah.
all.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Oh yeah, Nick next. Yeah.
I just had a thought. I mean, kind of, I guess it's more up to the actor for this. But just at Polonius's what do you think of me? Kind of going off of what Michele was talking about last week with like paranoia, or at least like defensiveness there. Is with, but how she received his love. Do you think Claudius is accusing Polonius there, or is he just so worried about looking good that he just is automatically like getting defensive about it? Or is Claudius saying like, what do you do? Is Claudius implying an accusation, I guess, is my question.
I don't think he is. I think that Polonius may pick that up as one. But I think it's a very simple question. And because Polonius is in a situation where anything that is going to connect to his daughter doing something wrong. So I think it's more about him reading into the simple question that Claudius is putting forth. That would be my feedback.
Okay.
And Liz, I think you had.
Yeah, it's a very simple thing. It's the same thing, I think, actually. When Claudia says, "Do you think 'tis this?" I took it when I read it as being directly to Polonius, especially because it's a shared line, and it's like, okay, enough, let's get down to the business. But in that Gertrude responds, it could equally well be addressed to her. And I mean, that would be a rehearsal thing to find out. But having made a choice, I suddenly realized there was another choice.
Yes, I think it is to Gertrude. But I think, again, we can look at it. But I think because of Gertrude's response to it, is
Yes.
where I would tie it to that.
Okay.
That happens a lot, by the way, is that certain, I was thinking of in the Pyrrhus scene when the players do that play, and Polonius says, look where he's not turned colors, and it refers that I'm not so sure it's not Hamlet who isn't weeping at what he's seeing. Again, this is like Sharon, a thought, only because Hamlet gets the idea for the play within the play to move Claudius. So he must be very moved by what he sees those players do. But again, Liz, I'm on the same, precipice here where it's like, it doesn't seem like it is. It seems like he's referring to the player, but maybe, so you want to just take a look at it.
He certainly spends time in the monologue talking about how effectively the player king, what's he to Hecuba and Hecuba to him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
At any rate, thank you guys. I really appreciate that we all jumped in. I think it's a very exciting way to work. And I know I fumble through it a lot, but I end up getting so excited and have so many ideas at once to throw at people. But I think that I just think it's wonderful to see 3 different groups of actors take on the scene. I mean, after last week, I said to Randy, I'm ready to move on. And he said, no, coach us, let us do it, and then coach us too. And so I'm glad we did make that choice. I think we discovered a lot today. If everybody else would like to come on and have, I think I've really used the time up, but there's about 15 minutes, 13 minutes left. And if you just let me know, raise your hand if there's something that you'd like. Yes, Aaron.
Yes, there's something you said earlier that kind of put the detective's hat on my head, and that was about commas, and that things that come after commas really also indicate the importance of what came before the comma. And so I was looking at Polonius's "This business is very well ended, my liege," and this is in the first folio and not after, "my liege, comma, and madam." And I was like,
Yes.
And then it's interesting because we've got 2 parents talking. We've got Polonius as a dad, and we've got Gertrude as a mom. And the one that is, he may sense is attacking where he's coming from is Gertrude first. And she may come off as being more critical. And then the third time is the charm. Claudius asks the question, which I think you pointed out as being kind of innocent. Yeah, here. Let's see. But how hath she received his love? And I was like, did he actually answer the question? Because I think Polonius, besides taking great offense, he seemed to have, in his circuitous way, kind of went around by not really answering. And I thought that that was very telling, not just about Polonius's character, but about his relationship with Ophelia. Because when you took us to 1-3, and I was like, whoa, no wonder she commits suicide later on. I mean, just the way that she is treated by these elderly men, and it's just really just powerful. And I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Well, I think that I love your observation. I can comment on that. I think that's terrific. And I think, I'm not sure if when you talk about the comma, the thing that I do want, let me refer to that comma. I think you all remember the little hamburger exercise that I've done, where we're in a restaurant and you want to order a burger and then you have the afterthought of fries. So to say, I'd like a burger and some fries. I did not, it's different than saying I like a burger and fries. So one is a complete order, the other one is on the spot I'm making. And I think that what you pointed out when he says my liege, comma, and madam, that opens up a delicious opportunity, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's great. And what's the last thing you said? I wanted to comment on that.
Well, I was talking about how Polonius, because he's like, what do you think of me?
Yeah.
And I was looking at, I read it several times after you brought us to 1-3, and just how Polonius was just so negative and just so like, oh yeah, he's in love with you. You have no idea what love is, and just shuts her down.
Yes, and that what I wanted to say about that is that one of the things that I think is so important in this play is that you have only two women. And they live in a world that is being run by men. This is different than Lear even. You know, and even from, I think we talked a little bit about it last week, where Ophelia is different than Beatrice. She's different from even Juliet, who's willing to risk marrying Romeo behind her parents' back. Ophelia doesn't take those risks at all. And so one feels that somehow she is subject to her brother and her father's view and advice, and takes that. And I do believe that as we move through the play, perhaps she has not been herself until, you know, Polonius is gone, Hamlet is gone. But I think she's been robbed of herself. And Polonius says, to thine own self be true. But she hasn't had that opportunity. So maybe, you know, I mean, and now we are getting into
Annie,
a subject. Yeah.
could it possibly be that her love affair with Hamlet, that relationship has begun to open herself up to herself? Do you know why would a character like Hamlet fall in love with her?
Yeah.
What's in her that attracts him, that attracted him?
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's a question that
intelligence,
we all ask all the
awareness.
time about her. That's Hamlet is our main focus, and he's smart. You know, he loves theater. Everything we learn about Hamlet is worthy of
But who's this girl?
right woman. Yeah, a woman who is worthy of him.
And at this point in time, he would be looking for a wife or consort among royalty. So she would have to be extra special
Yes.
to have him go outside that norm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Annie?
Yep.
You know, one of the things that always rankles me when we read this piece is when Polonius says, I have a daughter as long as she is mine. That idea of ownership of a woman is so, you know, prevalent throughout the play. You know, she's mine. I can do what I want to with her until I marry her off to some other guy, and then she's his.
Somebody
Right.
else. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Adriana.
Well, I just wonder if that also gives us important clues about Gertrude's status and motivation and why she remarried. That, you know, because sometimes we're kind of given that perhaps she is a, you know, a co-conspirator instead of perhaps one without agency, and who has to remarry because that is her way of staying alive and you know, continuing the safety for her son. And it's just very interesting because there's a lot of ways to see what she has done. And you know, the ghost says, leave her to me.
Yeah.
But if we see these two women, the plight of these two women as being, you know, two people who don't have agency, but a great deal of depth in them.
Yes.
It just brings such, I don't know, much more beauty to how to act it.
Yes.
Yes, I think you're right. And I think I just want to add to all of this is that who these women at the end of the play. They make decisions. Gertrude will follow Hamlet from the closet scene. And Ophelia will make a decision to kill herself, to, you know, to drown. Now, we look at that as a sign of weakness, but it's a choice. And they're making choices finally on their own. and so I think that, yes, I think it does reflect on Gertrude. I said to Randy at one point, can you imagine, this is for all of the women, if somebody would not let the winds of heaven visit my face too roughly? And Randy said, yeah, but I said, you've never wouldn't allow the winds to visit my face too roughly. You'd say, go put a hat on, go put a scarf on. So it's quite, if that's the man that she was living with, she was used to that kind of love and attention. What does she do when he's gone? And she's not in on the murder. He died, and Claudius did have to seduce her, no doubt about it. But again, I don't know what one feels after being so adored and so cared for. And that's taken away. I'm not defending her because she does a lot of things that are questionable, she doesn't defend her son's right to the throne. But why? Again, where is she in this play? But I think, and I said it last week, and I know people hate me for it, it's why I urge people to please don't make Polonius a woman. And I think I love actresses, I'll send you a piece where Randy and I are doing Lear and I'm playing Kent. Not a performance, it's just a tape. But my point being, I believe, yes, we have the ability, yes, but Polonius, if you're going to give unless you can play a man so convincingly, you have to let Polonius be a man. Otherwise, you're killing everything that we're talking about. So now this is, why would a mother say what Polonius says to his daughter? It doesn't make any sense. So at any rate, Nathan, I see you.
Awesome. Thank you. Now I'm thinking like, wow, how does this change how Gertrude's relationship with Claudio is played?
That's right. Adriana, in the closet scene, she learns that the husband she married killed her previous husband.
Right.
She discovers that. And immediately after Hamlet leaves with Polonius's body, Claudius comes into the room.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does she face him? Knowing what her son just tells her, how does she deal with him, their marriage, their relationship? And at the very end of the play, she does something that she doesn't do through the play. She concedes to Claudius whenever he says, let's follow, or let's go, or let's do this. When Claudius tells her, Gertrude, don't drink. She says, I will.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Is this conscious? Does she know or suspect that the jewel that he drops into the drink is a poisoned gem? Do you know?
Yeah. Wow.
Does she give her son the proof that he needs in order to do the revenge?
Okay, Randy, we don't get to that till
I know. I'm jumping ahead.
But you want to, because you start to see how all of this that we're looking at,
all these women,
everything that's coming. Yeah.
they live in a man's world, but how do they survive or not survive?
Yep.
What happens to them on their journey?
Yep.
And it feels like that's very much Shakespeare's story throughout, not just Hamlet, but in many of the like that is, how are we surviving in this world? And it's
masking is a thing.
What did she say?
Masking
is
a thing.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to cut in because this is just such a great conversation and discussion. We could go for another hour easily. And yeah, so many wonderful questions, not only during the scene about, how the characters are interrelated. And I love that we keep we keep trying to bring it back to, well, moment to moment, what's going on between these characters, because ultimately that's, any of our jobs performing it is what's going on. So yeah, so many great discussions about the three of those characters, and hearing the earlier scenes too. And then yeah, it is very exciting to think about all these pieces that we're going to see continue to connect through the play, and as information drops in for characters, it takes on another kind of a very electric quality, I think, the play, because you're starting to see these things that maybe you didn't realize before, of, oh, wait a second, this character learns this bit of information right here in this moment. It wasn't
Yes.
just assumed from the beginning, or or whatever. So I think that's very exciting to see as we continue. So I want to thank everybody. We will just have to close it for now. I know we can keep talking. We'll pick it up again next time. But I want to thank everybody so much for your
Oh, it's
participation
great.
and energy and contributions. So thank you very much. And we will see you all next time in the rehearsal room. Have a great week, everybody.
Yes, thank you.